Welcome to FFCC's Off the Menu with me, Minnie Jacob. Today I have a guest with me who started his F&B career at a very young age with no formal education in hospitality, has faced all the challenges along the way and has never looked back. Meet Fadi Serhal, the Director of Product Innovation at the Chefs, Saudi Arabia. Welcome to the show, Fadi.
Thank you, Minnie. Good to be here.
Great. And thank you actually for wanting to, or rather being open to speaking about a topic that is something that's not addressed very often, which is workforce burnout. And really excited to hear what all you have to say. So diving right in, what do you think are the early signs of burnout that you have learned to spot in your team?
Burnout is something that we rarely speak about, and I think in our part of the world, it's still considered a no-no to highlight. We try to pride ourselves with wrong cultures of working 18 hours a day and so on. But honestly, burnout rarely starts loud. You rarely hear or see someone loudly acting with a burnout. It creeps into you. Across time, I've learned to watch subtle shifts and unusual quiet team members in meeting, one that used to be full of flames, for example, a drop in creativity or speed, someone with an increased defensiveness that suddenly showed up. Even when we say a drop in creativity, and the other way around, an over hyper productivity that, when we become very exhausted, sometimes we become hyperactive. And it's the same thing at work. When you're burned out, sometimes there's a hyper productivity sense that comes in. And the simplest part is when people stop laughing, when people stop challenging ideas, start avoiding conversations. To me, that's the red flag. These are the early signs.
Right. And of course, there would be some leadership behaviors and often unintentional that kind of accelerate the burnout that happens. Could you share any common such leadership behaviors?
Of course, three of them would come to the top of my mind. The first one is the expectations and being always on expectations. Sometimes leaders expect to be responded to at midnight. And sometimes leaders lead with this approach. I've emailed you at midnight. Why wouldn't you respond at 1 a.m.? And rewarding overwork. We've often rewarded people who overwork, praised them, glorified them, which in return led to others wanting to follow pace. Vagueness in direction. Where are we going to? How are we going to? The path that we're driving through. Because the constant change of direction as well comes with a lot of logistics that would tire people across time. And I think the last thing that would come to my mind is the recognition depth. The leaders assuming that when I don't tell you anything, it means I told you something nice. Instead of reinforcing effort with feedback, we always say no news is good news. But no, I mean, sometimes if someone done something right, go ahead and reinforce it with a positive feedback rather than saying, if I didn't say anything to him, it means he's done it right.
Yeah, I think silence is not the right thing. There should be positive or negative. One of the feedback should be there, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. So what could you walk us through any one specific change that you have made in your leadership style or the company culture that has helped reduce burnout?
Across companies I've worked on, I've introduced three main rituals. The first one is a weekly check-in. It's not a weekly meeting. It's not a weekly, what have we done? What have we performed? It's a weekly one-on-one check-in with the team for 10 minutes, asking one simple question. How are you doing? How can I help you? Is there any blockers? Is there any problems? Any issues? Then we've created the post-milestone town halls. And it's a town hall where we celebrate any achievement we've done, any targets that were hit by the team, even if it means a town hall where we're actually bombarded with requests, bombarded with questions, bombarded with ideas of what do you wish we've done differently? How could we have approached this in a different way? This as well allows the team to feel taken into the whole system, taken into the whole idea, taken into the whole project. The last one, and this was something that I used to encourage the team a lot, is the permission to pause day. It's a day where you can come to me and say, listen, I need a timeout. I need 1 day out. I'm not sick. I'm not absent. I just need a day off and I'll come back full of energy. If this day means that you'll come back to me with double the energy that you were before, I've already won. So please be my guest and go away. So it's not just about support. It's about making space for people to be truthful with you and with themselves.
Right. But this is amazing. I mean, I've never heard of somebody doing something like this where you just can walk up to leadership and ask for a day off. I mean, of course, there would also be that sense of people taking it in the right spirit. I mean, and not misusing it, right? I think that has that been a concern for you ever?
I mean, obviously, don't come to me every day and say I need a mental day off, and don't come to me asking for a mental day off if you haven't been doing anything for the past year. We have to be able to understand, yes, and it would be even much better if we're able to spot it and give it away rather than waiting for it to be asked. Look, it's all metrics by end of day. An tired employee will cost the company. A generated, charged employee will get us revenue, will generate revenue. So if a day off is just when you put your car in the service for a whole day, you're not putting it because you don't need it. You're putting it because you need that car to be recharged and take you the 1,000 miles ahead as well.
Right. Brilliant. You also mentioned about asking the people what they feel and how they feel and things like that. Have you had people responding to that, or have they still needed like egging on to talk, to open up? How
In
has
the
your
beginning,
experience been?
yeah, in the beginning, it was a bit hard to extract answers, especially when we started this initiative. It was a bit hard to extract answers. But then once they saw that the outcome was never to judge, the outcome was never to build a rhythmic image about anyone, that's where answers started flowing in. And that's where actually they would walk in and say, listen, can I have 5 minutes? I'm facing this and that. And we literally do anything in our capacity to help with whatever matters that occur.
That's amazing. And I think it's a lot to do with leadership styles, how the people in the team respond, and like you said, how effectively they work and how efficient they are, right? So a
Sure.
lot to do with leadership. So over the years, right from the time you started working, have you noticed a change in your leadership style, especially in this aspect?
Oh, a lot, a lot. I mean, I was more aggressive. I was more. I don't care what you tell me, just get it done. Until I was the one who was burned out, and I faced the realities of it. I faced the hardships of it. The realities of waking up, not wanting to go to work, snoozing your alarm for 10 times, calling in sick when you're not sick, feeling low. I went through them. And that's where I slowly started adapting to that shift of no, let's change the approach. It took a bit of time, but eventually I've seen the results. I've seen the outcome, and I believe that this is the best result out there.
Yeah, so you experienced it yourself and you
Yeah.
realized how important that was.
Yes.
That's great to be able to put it into practice then. So has there been any unconventional practice, not the regular things that you've tried that have surprisingly worked to boost the morale or the retention of your team?
A few. I think one of them, we created a thank you handout notes that colleagues can give to each other. They were available at all shops, all offices. They're simple cards. Some would say you're awesome. Some would say great job. Some would say this. And it had no face value in terms of points or in terms of, but it was just a nice idea to hand over these cards to the people. The second thing we did was bring your kids to office day, and we surprised the kids with an ice cream machine, snacks, putting a movie for them in the meeting room, reducing workload on that day to the extreme for everyone just so that they can spend their time with the kids. And our annual employee party always made sure that the families were there. We never said, listen, it's just you. We've always said, come you, your family, your kids, your wife. Let it be a whole family day. And it reminded me and the whole team to see the whole person and not just that person exactly. Because when you see the whole family, when you see the deep end, you see the whole reality behind that
Right.
someone, and you're able then to understand them even more.
Absolutely, because a person can be very different when they are at work, and when they are with their family, they can be a very different person
True.
altogether. So, we talked about what are the signs, early signs of burnout. Now, if there's any founder who's listening to this podcast and they realize from what you have just said that their team seems to be burning out, what would you suggest is the first thing that they should do?
Own it. Stop what you're doing. Gather the team. Own it. There's no harm in us as leaders to own things. Say very clearly, I think we've pushed hard. We may have missed the signs. Let's fix it together. Humility alone will recharge trust. When the team sees their leader speaking that way with such humility, that alone will recharge. That alone is not enough because then you have to listen. Do not reply. Let them say everything. Understand what's actually draining them. Only from there you can start building something more sustainable.
I think you touched upon a very, very important aspect that every leader should have, that of humility. Because if you allow your ego to surface, then it just clashes with the humility and you
True.
aren't able to get across to your team as well. That's wonderful, yeah. Now, just like there are always myths about certain things, if I was to ask you, what's that one myth about burnout that you wish the industry would stop believing?
I think the fact, and we go back to the culture, those who believe that burnout is a personal weakness or a time management issue. Uh, it's not. Burnout is a systems failure of culture, communication, leadership. It's not someone inside the person. It's not that XYZ aren't strong or they don't know how to manage their time. Burnout is real. And it's the combination of these three. You can't yoga your way out of it if the environment stays toxic. You cannot simply sit down and, I'm gonna get out of this whole burnout if the failure of culture, the failure of communication, and the failure of leadership are still there.
Right. It's a lot to do with the environment and not just the
Exactly.
person
Exactly. 100%.
himself. Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So now coming to the last question. If you had to give every founder a cheat sheet of what are the three things they need to stop doing, start doing, and never forget to prevent burnout in their teams, what would be?
Okay. I think in the stop segment, I would say stop rewarding martyrdom. Stop rewarding those who spend 18 hours, 20 hours, show that they're replying at 6 in the morning, showing up at Friday in the morning to the office. Stop rewarding that because by that you're creating a ripple of effect that goes across the entire team who now as well wants to be rewarded and in their mindset, that's the only way to get rewarded. Stop ignoring emotional signals. Stop shutting door on them. Emotional signals can break or make your company. And stop leading by fear or fire drills. People do not care about leading by fear. We're past it. We're at the time where emotional intelligence is taking everything, at the time where everyone needs to be listened to. These are the three main things I think has to be stopped. When we go to the start, I would say start normalizing boundaries. Yes, even leaders need to have boundaries. Even founders need to have boundaries. A founder, a CEO, a leader, a director, a manager, whoever does not have the right to say this whole space is mine and I have accessibility to you, your life, your family, your well-being, your everything, and I'm gonna own it. No. The second thing would be publicly modeling rest and recharge. Before we reach to the timeout, before we reach to the day off, I've done one thing once where I simply stood up, asked everyone to shut down their laptops, and we went to Salt nearby to have ice cream. It
Wow.
took us an hour. That's it, an hour. That's all we lost. But we gained back people coming back, laughing, smiling. Meetings got better. One on ones got better. The last thing is you need to build psychological safety into performance reviews. Performance reviews no longer need to be just have you done your job? Have you done this? No, it has to also include are you safe? Are you happy? Are you comfortable? When these also happen, you've built an even stronger layer into ensuring there's no burnout in your organization. And then never forget, ever, people remember how you made them feel, not just what you built. We often speak of organizations not out of the size of the organization, but out of how have we felt in this organization? How did the leadership made us feel? You can work for a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate or work for $100 million smallware shop. And this made you feel the baddest, worst version of yourself. And this made you feel the human you deserve, the excitement. You're more willing to come back here than to come back here. you're more proud of here than there.
Wow. Fadi, I think those are some amazingly hard hitting truths that you have put across. And I'm sure the viewers are going to get a lot of takeaways from this conversation because there are things that we as leaders have to ask ourselves and be ready to face in terms of reality. So thank you so much for all of that, Fadi. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Mindy. The pleasure was mine, and thank you for giving me the space to speak about this.